Greetings, and welcome to Context Matters. The date is January 29th. It's the last Thursday in January. Usually they say January is the longest month, but boy, I don't know what to tell you. It appears that that is not the case. January gone fast, and kicking. But notwithstanding, here's what I'm going to say to you. If you survive January, clap yourself. You are officially a survivor. The next thing I'm going to say to you is if you are joining from Reggae Global Radio, welcome. If you are joining from Best FM 100 all across Jamaica, big up yourself and welcome. If you are joining from TikTok, you know what to do. Tap that screen, share the live, and run up the hearts if you're feeling the vibe. And to my people from YouTube, blessings to you. I want you to welcome my moderator always, walking in divine purpose, who keep things nice and clean on YouTube. Seems like it's YouTube they got to give trouble, but we are here. I want to say though that many things are happening in the world that affects our society, and I want people in Jamaica especially to pay attention to what is going on. What I would say more than anything is that we are to bear in mind and keep abreast with current affairs, and use Context Matters as the platform that will certainly shape the way you think, shape the way how you make your decisions, especially when it comes to making proper decisions when it comes to the information as received. Critical thinking is going to be an important tool to assess situations as they come across. This today we're going to be talking about shaping the society in a fast changing world, and that's humanity versus AI. And yeah, goodbye January. That's all I can say. And as we welcome Black History Month, if you are in the United States, the shortest month ever in any calendar year, as well as for us here in Jamaica, Reggae Month. We have lost some stalwarts. I mean, every time I say we have lost somebody, whether it be timely or untimely, somebody else dies. So we have lost a very important media personality, um, a Bob. Why I say it like that, if you don't know, I invite you to go and check who I'm speaking about. We've also lost two what I would call reggae contributors, reggae icons, contributors, Cat and Sly, and it right on the heels of Reggae Month. And so as the 2nd of February comes and we celebrate the birthday of the Prince of Reggae, Dennis Brown, followed by February 6th, the king of reggae music, whether it be locally, whether it be internationally recognized all over the world, Bob Marley, all in February, Reggae Month. But many activities will be going on throughout the month that speaks about and give recognition to reggae music. In the middle of that, we have legislation, as you know, that always hampers celebration. That's noise abatement legislation, the Noise Abatement Act. The irony of that is the naming or calling or music that champions and pioneers and put us on the map and classifying it as noise. We all know it's really dancehall I'm talking about, but at the same time, what dancehall is doing for us at this time, and the controversies that come with it, we should rethink what we call noise, because certainly our music and our culture should never be seen as that, especially I'm not going to take the last Thursday in January to speak about it. I can do a whole show about carnival versus dancehall, which really is AKA uptown versus the rest of town, if you want to look at it that way. But hope you stick around, share it, let people know that we are live, and naturally just be prepared to have a very interesting show. I promise you. What I want to talk about may change your thoughts, your consciousness, and your ideas of what it is that we are considering in this fast changing, fast paced society that we call the new Jamaica. Stick around.
Right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way.
All right, so want to start now by saying definitely. Yeah, I'm checking that right now. Want to start now, definitely by saying that one of the interesting things about Jamaica is that we have certainly inherited our laws from the United Kingdom. Our independence in 1962 was certainly one where we would have received what is known as performative independence, because we're far from independent, right? If we check it like that, or if we look at it like that. But the key thing here is that the laws that we have on our books sometimes is not current, and so there will, as you see in the coming, certainly for the next 5 years, you'll be seeing a lot of drastic changes in the legislation, that the hope is that it is done properly. This week alone there was amendments to the Cybercrimes Act. The 2015 Cybercrimes Act is being amended now to have some significant changes. It is one of the bases upon which or I should say, I have decided to speak about shaping the society in a fast changing world, and speaking about humanity versus AI. Because as we update our laws, you tend to find that if we're not thinking about AI, if we're not an AI, and we're not just talking about Grok from X or Chat GPT, we're talking about AI, which is doing some things that even for me, I'm wondering whether or not laws can actually capture some of the things that's happening, especially with the Constitution and how our Constitution is worded. In the social media space, how do you protect privacy when the public, when everything is in the public space, and what is it that you can keep private, and what of AI? So I just want to share with you something that the Minister Andrew Wheatley said in his, I'm not going to play what he said, but to speak about what AI does. And so he did an amendment to the legislation that speaks about it's Section 9, and what the effect of Section 9 is. The two significant changes: one is to replace the narrow wording, which is sent to another person. So this is what you'd probably call malicious communication, and widen it to say publish. So that's the first thing. So the act currently speaks about sending private images to another person, but says to publish it. So if you publish it, whether it's on social media, republishing, so there's a there are websites where things happen and they tell you, oh, go to this website and you can see the pasa. Then the second one is addressing the major modern harm vector, and it says the non-consensual sharing of intimate content in the digital space. And he states that it creates the offenses of publishing an intimate image without consent or being reckless as to whether consent has been given. It then defines the key terms in a way that reflect today's platform reality. Now, it would mean then that if you go through TikTok here and there, you tend to find that persons are republishing, and when the bloggers and the vloggers hear the mix up, everybody jump on it and everybody give their take and have social commentary and stuff like that. I'll talk about the defenses after that, but here's the important thing. The clause defines what intimate images, and it includes content that is captured, listen, generated or created. So that now is an attempt to cover AI generated images. So the law, he posits that the law must protect Jamaicans not only from what a camera records, but also from what modern tools can fabricate. It defines publish in a practical, technological, aware way to include sending, transferring, posting, disseminating, or otherwise providing access. He further says that it makes it plain that a person under the age of 18 is incapable of giving consent for these purposes. And it provides carefully framed statutory defenses for legitimate publication context. And listen, it's including law enforcement, legal proceedings, bona fide, educational or scientific and medical research, and reporting about historical or current events with reasonable care taken to omit explicit depiction. He then says that where the offense is committed against an individual under 18 years, a term of imprisonment not exceeding 20 years may be imposed. So there's a serious push to secure and ensure that the Child Care and Protection Act is given some teeth, as in child protection, best interest of the child, and ensuring that children are not exploited. And if one knows like what's happening in America with the Epstein files and who is a part of it, and these photos being shown and all of that, you get a sense of the market for sexual exploitation and what it means. Well, I was looking at the defenses and a little bit of controversy came up with the defenses. For instance, a bona fide educational purposes. One can look at a situation like that and says bona fide educational purposes would mean that we can revisit in the historical context, because context matters, how it is that Kim Kardashian became famous, and a revisiting of the Ray J / Kim Kardashian tapes is published for the purpose of what is the defense? Let me go back to the defense. For the purpose of legitimate education or scientific and medical research, and reporting about historical or current events with reasonable care taken to omit explicit depiction. Well, reasonable care is a subjective standard as well as an objective standard. That's not sufficiently clear by the law, and so there would be some interpretation as to what that is. And if left to a judge, depending on who it is, or left to a jury, depending on who it is, the reasonableness or the context may be workable or not workable, things that we need to think about. But in my concern, certainly where the defenses are put out, is twofold. One, it may be justifiable. There was a particular defense that you were to, if you look at the legislation, it speaks about it is a defense if you had sent the intimate image to the person. In other words, if you have your girlfriend and she send you a picture and you send it back to her and say, remember this, it's a defense that I only sent the picture back to you, and so I haven't committed a crime, and there's nothing malicious about the communication because I didn't publish it or share it with anybody else. Whether or not you're able to be responsible for the attempt to send it, and whether your phone is hacked or whether you have a current girlfriend that sees images in your phone from the ex-girlfriend and then sends it out, and you find yourself in the Supreme Court and being sued by your ex-girlfriend because your other girlfriend published the intimate images, and then you find that you are found liable for not protecting the content and paying the sum of $23 million, and you appeal it, and then the court says it should be more because you were reckless or careless or not allowed to whatever. One wonders whether the defense goes far enough or there should be a defense at all. But certainly when we look at the Constitution, one wonders if we speak about what is being captured is something that we can accept. And here's what I mean, and I want you to appreciate this. I'm going to speak about the AI generated. I don't know, some of you would have seen AI images going around, or AI generated images going around of the leader of opposition, Mark Golding, the Honorable Mark Golding, doing the dancing, and we know it's not him, but it's AI generated. Similar, the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, as well as the Honorable Olivia Babsy Grange, as well as Lisa Hanna, former Miss World, former politician. One wonders, and though we know that is AI generated, and whether any harm can come from it, if the AI generation was of a negative connotation, although having those persons dancing, knowing very well they can't dance, maybe Lisa Hanna, I don't know. Don't come for me, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Leader of Opposition. We don't think you can dance in the manner that we see those videos. Maybe the Honorable Olivia Babsy Grange can shake a two-leg here and there. We don't know. But whether or not that is negative or positive, I haven't said anything about the former Miss World. I'm sure it was real. But anyway, but to say that, understanding sometimes that we as the persons receiving the information, how we interpret it and the context in which we interpret it. Are we quick to jump and say that is the person? Are we quick to say that this is AI? Or the questions always asked on any video that is generated these days. Is this AI? I can't believe this is really happening. And whether or not it should be covered in light of the fact that it is not AI, what harm can come? Because I've seen AI videos with the President of the United States dancing, and we know it's not the President of the United States. And if that forms part of freedom of expression from the creator, and where is the line blurred? Because appreciating that if it's not the actual person, what harm can come from an AI generated video? Because it may very well be instances where videos are real and the same persons get up and say it's AI generated, and they get the benefit of the doubt, or they get the benefit or escape liability because one cannot tell. And then we have to have experts in that field or get another AI generated company to say that this is so. So the legal lines are blurred where that is concerned. And I'm not sure if amendments from a legislation as it is right now can cover the very cover or prevent AI generated images. And I'm still trying to figure out genuinely for myself under what circumstances could an AI generated image do harm to the person in question. I can go as far back. I said, I wonder what kind of dance them are gonna give you, Mosi Calypso. You see it? You see it? If you see me doing Calypso, it's AI. Any dance you see me doing is AI. I get the benefit of simply saying it's AI. But that's exactly the point that I'm making, is that how AI operates, and that was a comment from Donna Thompson. Um, how AI works, you can type into the app and say I put my photo and say Ice Up a Cannon dancing Calypso, and it allows me to do that, or it generates an image of me doing that. The thing about it is, these things at the end of the day, we are appreciating, and as we understand it, which is the conclusion I'm drawing right now, just not to bore anybody. The conclusion is, as we as a people are learning about the tool, perhaps we need to know more about it before we get up and we throw nice big words like AI generated, and put it in the law and says we're capturing or trying to cover the concept of AI in legislation, because the contemplation is not consistent with where AI is. AI is not just the things that we're now seeing in in the social media space and saying, wow, we can't tell the difference. Because if you know anything about cinematography and all of the movies that we love to watch, and which is CG and what AI is doing these days, and especially if you're a gamer, video game players can tell you about the quality of graphics and the quality of even AI generated material. It also goes to sound, song, and dance. A colleague of mine in the parliament, Dr. Dawes, in his contribution to the debate, expressed concerns of them using his image and making videos promoting anything in his his professional competence. So it's taking his image to promote, and what would be the remedy for that, and whether or not it's covered. Because if it is an AI generated video, I think that's really not in the criminal sphere, but the civil jurisdiction. So while it is that their laws are being made, one has to draw the line as to what are we capturing, as well as, and I said it, I will play my contribution in a minute, but to say, I will share with you, we cannot be in the business as a nation to turn ordinary citizens into criminals. And that has always been my biggest worry in terms of legislations, how our drafters and how the legislators of this country are so light with the pen to do law and amendments that really bring more harm to society than good. In defense of a statement like that, because people will come for me, is the nonsensical firearm legislation. And I'm going to do a whole show on that, because it's doing more harm to society than it is doing good. It is destroying the lives of young people who have not taken up a firearm, have never interfaced with a real firearm, are going to prison for cardboard guns, are facing 15 years for a cardboard gun, which a judge looking at a cardboard gun know absolutely that is not real. But lives are being interrupted, people on bail for toy guns, for what I deem to be foolishness, nonsense. Especially when you look at other legislations that a toy gun used in the commission of an offense may carry a sentence, but possession simpliciter should never be a loss of 15 years of your life. What would you be correcting in 15 years? What would you be preventing? It is one of the biggest mistakes in legislative drafting that has occurred in modern society. But it also signals the lack of empathy, the lack of development, and just respect for the future of the nation, in terms of what you perceive for other people's children in the context of who are the least among us and where do they come from. It is the cry of the ghetto youth who has to face with making better decisions even when their counterparts from uptown are not making any decisions at all, but to live in what is a living, functioning society where you grow up and you go to school and you graduate and you go to college and you graduate, and then you become the doctor, you become the lawyer, you become somebody important, and you live like how white people live in societies that democracy was made for, before race and culture and religion and human rights crept into it, and then we have performative society duties that's taking place. So we must think about that as we continue to navigate. So I must say to you that I did support, or am supporting, the legislative changes to the Cybercrimes Act. And so for me, I heard my colleagues speak of many things that's wrong with the legislation. I'll just go further to say that the culpability, because people are very malicious on the internet these days, very irresponsible. There's a current I want to say the social media vloggers are not under the guidelines of Broadcasting Commission. So in internet world, which is like la la land, people can say anything they want and they can make any accusation they want, and you can't sue people that poor, you can't sue broke pocket people. So when you have vloggers who are singing for their supper, who people can just pay a little money, and they just get up every morning. You ever see them? Some of them you wonder if they brush their teeth. Some of them you wonder if them even bathe. Them just always put out video and just making a mess of people's lives, knowing that there is no liability or culpability because there's nothing to sue. And shutting them down sometimes is almost like messing with the freedom of expression. And so depending on who you are, you may have some reservations about it. But to say that because you cannot sue men and women of straw because there's nothing for the court to enforce. And believe me when I tell you this, there are people, especially in the Jamaican society, that believe that sending people to prison is the greatest thing that you can do. Well, that's because you suffer from post-traumatic slave syndrome, and you feel genetically you're used to pain, suffering, and trauma, that you don't appreciate that when one person goes to prison, you send the mother, the grandmother, the sons, the daughters, and you incarcerate a family, which is a repetition of the slave experience. Not saying that prison is not a solution. I'm just saying the mentality to want to do that. In the United Kingdom, judges sometimes apologize to people for having to send them there. Prison is a last resort. Corrective measures is what we ought to be thinking about. And as I said, suing men of straw is not the answer, but I don't think criminalizing and carrying sentences to 15 and 20 years is ever going to be the answer. I made great contribution to the expungement legislation, and because prison is for corrective measures and not only punitive, we have to think about the Bible that says God gives us 60 and 10, and if by reason of strength 80. But if you're sending somebody to prison, you must do so thinking that you're doing it for the purpose of correcting the wrong, and that they would come back into society and be productive members of society. When persons aren't given the opportunity to become the best versions of themselves, notwithstanding any mistakes they would have made in the past, you're simply condemning people. It's only one life we get, and the condemnation. And then there will be people who say, yes, I said, you only have said that because you had brushes with the law and this, and we don't want to hear nothing. But I'm simply saying that, you will never know. There's the 5 removed rule. I doubt in this society that is Jamaica, less than 3 million people, as I'm speaking to you, is in Jamaica as it is right now. And I doubt you can find a family that isn't 5 persons removed that know somebody that has brushes with the law. Many of them recently would have been because of COVID and how that was. D. Marie says, even a violent murderer, ISAT. We could have conversations about violent murders, but just remember, violent murders, sometimes they don't have convictions. Some of them don't go to trial at all, and some of them go to trial, get convicted, and appeals are overturned. Doesn't change. But the response to that is King David killed Goliath. Moses had his brush again in terms of killing people, and many of the greatest men, King Solomon, all of them in the Bible would have had whether you say kill, murder, would have taken the life of a human being, and what their contribution to humanity, to righteousness, to leading people to greatness. They became the best versions of themselves after interfacing. And people can say wartime, people can say this, people can say that, but I'm just saying nobody is irredeemable. Everybody in the eyes of God has the ability to turn around, and everybody's destiny and everybody's rites of passage as they navigate the world will be different. I don't know what the individual experience is while the chapters of their lives are being written, and what it takes for them to wake up in such a way that they say, this is me now. So I'm always cognizant that people must get the opportunity to become the best versions of themselves. That general statement does not apply to serial murderers and miscreants and deviants, whether it be through any form of crime. I know people that have 72 and 85 convictions, and if you give them the opportunity, they'll get 87, 88, 89. That's a different question, and that's a different class of person. What I'm saying is how we treat, especially the young, especially the youth. We selectively protect them. As you see, there's a law that says young people can't make decisions. But the same laws are saying if a young person commits a crime, treat them like an adult. We have to make up our mind and find some consistency. So when I see the protection of the youth, especially in the sexual context, I just want people to appreciate. You said we're going to make a law and young people cannot consent. Therefore, when an old person is publishing the photos of a young person and no question of whether they knew the person was young and sexual exploitation is thrown into the mix, we must give 20 years because young people cannot consent. But a young man out of any ghetto, the same police come and say this is a bad man and he has been on our radar and that's why we fill him up with bullets, and he forms one of the 28 persons that was murdered in the 28 days, a part of the policing, when the 4-year-old was murdered as one of the first persons murdered in police confrontation, a 4-year-old. Is that the same protection? Who is getting the 20 years for that? The loss of that life that the legislation here, the cyber legislation, is trying to protect the dissemination of sexual body parts. 20 years for that. But nobody is culpable or liable for the death when a 4-year-old is murdered. And when they're missing. So I just have to bring that up to say that we cannot be selective in the law, and especially when we're drafting, we cannot be drafting for a particular thing. For instance, and I'm going to talk about it right now, but I think it's best to play it. Property owners, in a world where sometime you get your opportunity for own a house, you borrow a little NHT. NHT say when you borrow, you have to live in the house. That's the requirement. So you live in the house and you have to pay a mortgage, but you not work nowhere. So naturally, I go rent out one of the room them. I rent out one of the room them, and when you rent out the room, you have control of the property and it's your house. When you rent it out, though, the person who you rent it to the best of your ability, you think of somebody where when people are rent your place, you don't get up and say, I'm going to rent to a prostitute. I'm going to rent to a drug dealer. I'm going to rent to a scammer. I'm going to rent to somebody who have OnlyFans. I'm going to rent to somebody who is running a pedophile ring. I'm going to rent to somebody who is a cybercrime genius. I'm going to rent to somebody who is a fraudulent transaction. I'm going to rent to a terrorist. Where nobody gets up and say they're going to do that. The thing about it is, as you rent to people, it is understood that you're supposed to have some knowledge. They call it the KYC, know your client. In this case, KYT, know your tenant. The thing about it is, at how far you're going to know your tenants without breaching the privacy rights of the tenant? And what is the law attempting for you to do? Because when it comes to crime, when it comes to omissions, and this is actus reus now, and this is the law, and we're putting things in context. Well, when it comes to actus reus and crimes of omission, the law says the general rule is there's no duty to act. Means that, again, if you're walking down the road and a car hits somebody and you take out your phone and you video it, you're entitled to do so. People can say it's morally wrong, but you can say, look at that, somebody got hit. How unfortunate. This will be good for my blog, especially if you don't know them. Same thing if somebody is at the beach or at a swimming pool and they're drowning and you don't know them, you can say, look at this human being drowning. This may give me 10 million views. That's why in the past, persons win the Pulitzer Prize in photography or even the Nobel Peace Prize by going to watch a child suffering in Somalia and the belly bang and they want water and they bend down trying to drink the water. And you see the drunk a circle because them say it's almost feeding time, and the person captures the photo and then puts it out and wins a prize. And then everybody said, but why they didn't give the child the water? Why did they not intervene? The law says you have no duty to intervene except in 5 particular circumstances. And so who do you owe the duty of care to? And what is it exactly is the law trying to allow you to do? Because it cannot be police work. So the law cannot impose a duty on you to become a snitch. It cannot impose a duty on you to report reporting must be voluntary. When it becomes criminal for you not to report, except like in the situation where every citizen of this country, every person in this country has a duty under the Child Care and Protection Act to report abuses to children when it comes to your attention. So there are exceptions, there are legislative exceptions, but the exceptions must make sense. So I can see where a property owner, when it comes to minors, that you have that duty, but the law already has that in terms of the Child Care and Protection Act. So a person can be charged under the Child Care and Protection Act for even it coming to your attention that a child is being sexually exploited and now find its way through cybercrime, which would be obviously child pornography. So I want to understand the overlap as well as the duty on a property owner. And a property owner, as defined by the legislation, if you use the general interpretation or the Interpretation Act, would seem to suggest that the person who's in control of the property, so it will include the pastor in a church or the school, the community center, office spaces, recreational areas, libraries, public buildings, just places where a crime would have taken place and persons were able to interface and carry out. For instance, in this Wi-Fi area where you have your Wi-Fi and people want to use all your computer, and you have a little pub and you have a computer station with the Wi-Fi going, you might find yourself in problems. And so that's the context of which I'm telling you about the particular section of the legislation, and I'm going to share it with you so that you get an idea. And feel free to go into the comments and let me know how you feel about it, and certainly what's your thought on it as it is right now. Let me put it that way. Yes. Here we go. Minister, I rise to support the amendments to the Cybercrimes Act. I just wish to make a comment on Clause 8, which would be Section 15, and just to point to you what I genuinely believe may bring some fear or apprehension or fear of prosecution in relation to the lack of a definition in relation to the premises that is intended to be covered in this section. So it's not a criticism, it's just a wonder, and in light of what my friend from St. Andrew Southeast would have said, whether or not it's something that could be reviewed. Nothing I say here I think would prevent the passing of your legislation, but just wondering if it's something that we need to look at. In certainly the Dangerous Drug Act, the fraudulent transaction legislation, a lot of the activities are physical. This section, as worded, speaks to two types of knowledge. Actual knowledge, which is the knowingly cause, and then there is the turning a blind eye, kind of strict liability, being negligent. What is a little bit problematic is whether or not how we define who is the person in control of our premises, and whether we can control, as the section speaks about, any act under the Cybercrimes Act. You as a premises owner, landlord, I can go to even the warder, to the minister of the state minister in security, even the warders in the prison institutions, and cell phone access, especially with the malicious communication, whether the premises and how liability comes about by a failure of defining the premises in relation to cyber crimes. because it's not general, or we can't make it comparative to the Dangerous Drug Act, where there's some physical substance that somebody can, or activities in and out of a premises. Youth club persons, community centers can find themselves in trouble with the law because the definition is not restricting or kind of giving guidance out of the legislation by the definition section. So I'm just raising it to say it may be something to consider or review. It won't prevent, I support it 100%, but there was a famous case, Sweet and Parsley, where Lord Reed would have said we're not in the business of turning ordinary citizens into criminals. And a section like this also give police wide powers to enter premises that has sometimes a owner, landlord, sublease, a lessee, or even family members who would not have known in a situation where TikTokers or teenagers decide to send malicious communication, or is in problem with multiple girlfriends and decide the TikTok drama that unfolds, and you find parents in trouble or pastors in churches, youth clubs. Just something to consider. Thank you. All right, so there you have it. There are many things to consider when it comes to premises and how we expose our citizens to becoming criminals just by state of being, just by being a landowner. Radam legislation pass, gazetted, and a knock on your door, you hear you're harboring cybercrime people. And Miss Matty said, what name song, who that you talk about? Johnny Rona back? I can't take him kind of pay me rent. What you mean? And they say, you never know Johnny did that. Yeah, me know him having video them. Yeah, me know him always make nice on the TikTok. What you say me do? And they say, come with me, Miss Matty, because we are charge you because you harbor him. You understand? So when we look at that, of course one would say, but the law would never contemplate to lock up Miss Matty. Poor Miss Matty don't even know what a cell phone is. Lie, because Miss Matty they're on TikTok and I say tap up the screen and share the live, and she right now probably in the comment section. But when it comes to landlord and tenant problems, there's a lot of landlords that I can tell you they are speaking as a landlord. There are a lot of landlords that simply knows everybody's business, because when it comes to pay rent and they don't want to pay your rent, the first thing you want to do is to throw them out. But rent board don't want you to throw them out and them home in my rent, and me not go down and no court go take out no summons and the people them to pay them rent. And the worst thing, the woman have 3 people a pay her rent and I come go on like she don't want to pay me my rent. As soon just tell her boyfriend, and the next one say, and the boy knows say for pay me my rent, and every day him a pretty car and don't want to pay me my rent. I have to just call the police. So when you when tenant and landlord relationship is not on good terms, the landlord know everything. When the tenant and landlord relationship is on good terms, the landlord does what the act says, permit or cause to suffer. Just one cause to suffer is not in this legislation, but means turn a blind eye. And whether or not there is now in legislation mandating the breach of privacy and the reporting of persons in their private space, which they paid for. And one just wonders, if at all, and sometimes genuinely when it comes to knowledge, it is not that everything I'm saying mean it can be proven in court. It's the whole aspect of giving the JCF wide powers to get a search warrant on a landlord to roam free in a premises, when the landlord at the end of it will have no knowledge, no ability to even provide any assistance to the police, but grants access to circumvent the right to privacy and circumvents the right to protection of property and control of that property. Just section 15 of the Charter of Rights. So I bring that to you to consider, because it is a genuine, serious issue. So somebody said, is this cybercrime legislation designed to silence the bloggers? Well, I just think that they should have a blogger legislation, because some of the filthy bloggers who are out there, bloggers or vloggers who just put out misinformation. You hear people complain about the misinformation and wonder, is this an attempt and a push to silence? No, I think that if legislation is to be drafted to silence, it's just a simple thing. When you make allegations, you must be able to prove it. The thing about it is that the legislation doesn't go far enough, because a lot of them, imagine you blogging about anybody here, even blogging about me, and you're in Germany or you're in Sweden or you're in the Netherlands. You're not in this jurisdiction, so you're free to say whatever you want. This week I saw a woman blogging, and I don't need to call her name, but I heard her saying that another vlogger must dead, and it's a matter of time that the person is going to be unalived, and said it with the greatest of conviction that if the police is watching in anywhere in the world, it gives rise to it being certainly attempted murder. It gives rise to incitement to murder if one understands the law. It is not prophetic, it is not prediction, not in the modern dispensation of how the social media messes around, and you've seen it on TikTok. They tell people on TikTok, and they're in battles and saying, you're gonna die, and then the person dies, and then everybody's like, oh my God, I didn't mean it. It's just social media. But one wonders sometimes, where does the responsibility lie? So I will just say that I know the minister means well. I know the minister is thinking about protecting people generally, because there are miscreants out there that I think they're also making money at the unrest or the unease of just other people, breach of privacy, breach of defamation, misinformation, whatever you want to call it. Someone said, Mr. Isa, what are you taking on 2 months down payment for tenants? Someone asking on my end. If don't ask me if I take it on 2 months. I encourage people to engage NHT at the first opportunity you get and become a homeowner. I encourage people to save on energy so that your light bill isn't big and you have to pay back, especially because you have to pay back all of the Beryl fuel and IPP charges, and now the Melissa fuel and IPP charges, and pay back the loan that the government has given to JPS. You will have to pay it in fuel and IPP charges, and they will break your back with utility bills, throw some on the water too, and tell you say you have a leaking pipe, and all the exploitations that come with just bills. The things that are consistent in your life is bills. So the faster you can own your own home, that's what I encourage. Not stopping landlords from getting tenants, because people need places to live. And the more we get into modern and the world gets into the future, the less likely it is for young people to become homeowners. And we hear our granny and our great grandparents and our parents tell us what our grandparents did and how they own homes, not recognizing that in 1991, a Portmore house was for $250,000, and now it's for $27 million, and the salary hasn't changed that much from then till now. I don't care who wants to vex with me. I'm just telling you how true it is. And for we do not have a credit system that reflects first world and modern credit systems. Like in America, as soon as you turn 18, credit card come in the mail and you have the opportunity to mess up your credit. What I can tell you is I have enough friends that left Jamaica as whether cook, chef, dressmaker, tailor, and them as the and carpenter and mason and home economics and teachers, and they leave and go to America. And they used to take JUTC bus, quarter million, and robot taxi. They never saved $2,000 to buy a Pro Box. But as them reach America and then put in the same work ethics that they have here, trying human beings, they're driving GLEs and Range Rovers and living in apartment and doing well in life. Some of them have the best credit and then they go back to school, and some of them end up becoming doctors of letters and become principals and head school boards. Some of them go on to go to NASA and end up in space, and then we claim them as Jamaicans. So when it comes to the effort of the citizens of this country and the ambition of each and every one of them, Jamaica just now cut it. The government is not creating the opportunities that people need to become the best versions of themselves. It's just more legislative draftings to criminalize you so you can stay on the island, and then people say you're broke and hungry and you must tough it out, and then them floss on you and show off on you. And then you get vexed with all of the people on TikTok where make all of the money because them figure out so them can just stay on TikTok and run like sand through the hourglass. So are the days of the TikTok lives, and just people just tap up the screen and then make them money. Let me see who tap up the screen. Make sure I reach my goal there. And just know with what I'm saying is that if you are not aware of what's happening with the law, and if you're not paying attention, yes, I'm aware. We're going into the commercial break, which is a good 5 minutes break. Reggae Global Radio and Best FM have to pay some bills. And shout out to the sponsors, Pure Water, always great partnership where that is concerned. Why not drink water that's pure? After all, a famous judicial officer, former president of the Courts of Appeal, said when you go in certain spaces, make sure you bring your own water. I wonder why he said that. Leave it like that. But keep it pure. The next thing I must say, though, as we go into the commercial break, is that I want people to pay attention to what's happening around them. As I said, it is a changing world. Government is going to always try to keep up with the changes. A lot of times the changes are mandated. And then on the other side of it, because I'm closing this out, is that we have treaties that we must ratify. We are signatories to the treaties, but we are not. We are signatories to it, but we are not necessarily ratify it and put it into law. There are probably genuine reasons for that, but I just want to say that as these things happen, just know that we must modernize not only laws, but we must modernize society for the benefit of the people in society. Soon come.
Right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it right. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it right. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way.
Greetings, I'm Isa Buchanan, Member of Parliament for Portland Eastern, and today I'm taking you right through the constituency to show you the current situation in relation to the garbage. Garbage collection has not been consistent.
Sometimes 2-3 months of garbage on the technique.
I'll do money before they come.
Garbage just are on the road, no respect for health.
I have pad and pampas, the dog in the state of Montreal, farmers from the area. As you can see, there is always the garbage pile-up situation. What we face is pollution because as you can see, the garbage piles up and then it goes down into the ocean and you have pollution right there. In the alternative garbage, sometimes because of the failure to collect the garbage, they light the garbage and then that's air pollution.
A few days ago, they come, when they come here, they just look and turn and go and come back.
Across Portland Eastern, this is the current state of affairs with garbage collection. I think we are a bit fatigued now in seeing garbage skips either full or messy. We are calling on the local government minister, the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, to do something about this.
Minister, one more time. I rise to support the amendments to the Cybercrimes Act. I just wish to make a comment on Clause 8, which would be Section 15, and just to point to you what I genuinely believe may bring some fear or apprehension or fear of prosecution in relation to the lack of a definition in relation to the premises that is intended to be covered in this section. So it's not a criticism, it's just a wonder, and in light of what my friend from St. Andrew Southeast would have said, whether or not it's something that could be reviewed. Nothing I say here I think would prevent the passing of your legislation, but just wondering if it's something that we need to look at. In certainly the Dangerous Drug Act, the fraudulent transaction legislation, a lot of the activities are physical. This section, as worded, speaks to two types of knowledge. Actual knowledge, which is the knowingly cause, and then there is the turning a blind eye, kind of strict liability, being negligent. What is a little bit problematic is whether or not how we define who is the person in control of a premises, and whether we can control, as the section speaks about, any act under the Cybercrimes Act. You as a premises owner, landlord, I can go to even the warder in Section 15. And just to point. We are back. If you are just joining me, you are tuned into Context Matters on Reggae Global Radio, Best FM 100. We are on TikTok, we are on YouTube, and always shout out to Coda Network, your entertainment Netflix for the Caribbean. Big up everybody. If you're just joining us, we're on the second hour. And let me tell you, we are talking about shaping the society in a fast changing world, humanity versus AI. The whole conversation is one where there's some expectation for people to be aware of what's happening around them, and this is in a space or a real reality. Notice I said real reality, that society is moving at a pace where people still have to worry about basic realities such as food insecurity. One of the things that they have not told, or the narrative has not been put out, is that even before Hurricane Melissa, there were people who were going to their beds at night without finding or securing that one meal for the day. Malnutrition is a serious problem. Sometimes the curse is the blessing, because if you didn't know, I'm just giving you general information that after all these years, the United States have finally flipped the dietary pyramid. And so when they said you needed starch and then you needed protein or whatever, which is the three carbohydrates, fats and proteins, and what you needed to put in your body to be healthy. And for those of you, we can say this with great pleasure, fire button for the bacon, because them now say bacon has carcinogenic that causes cancer. So all who love bacon and you whopper with cheese and bacon, fire button for you. You have to cut out the bacon because it causes cancer. But just understanding that everything connects into society. Persons are stuck at the first level of Maslow's laws of hierarchy, the physical needs. Food, clothes, and shelter is a real problem for many Jamaicans, and we have to redefine what homelessness is. In the 90s, TLC had a song, I Don't Want No Scrubs. A scrub is a guy that can get no love from me, always on the passenger side of his best friend, right? We need to coin the term that we don't want to be homeless, because how is that defined? And homelessness is not about the man that you see or the woman that you see on downtown King Street sleeping around the premises or the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of Jamaica, home circuit. We need to understand that there are persons suffering in clean clothes that brush them teeth and wash them face and present themselves proper, and is holding on to the reins of it. So when somebody come and say, and it get late and they say, well, now I go to bed now. Nice of you people to all come and check me. I know you see them now want to leave. They probably don't have a home. And they find ways to dance and skirt around the realities that the living conditions are either they don't have facilities for living, as well as they're just getting by, and years will pass. What I will say, somebody said Maria's product says absolutely we're all at risk for homelessness. Well, if climate change has put us that way, and also earthquake and hurricane and all of that, we are exposed to the elements, so we're all at risk for homelessness. But I'm speaking about what poverty has caused in terms of struggling to get by. So we're missing the opportunities for some of the greatest contributions from some of the greatest minds in this country that don't know that their minds are great. Some of the creatives in this country are spending most of their somebody said no scrubs still a keep you. Well, I can't. Sometimes I don't even know why I raise scrubs, because with all of the pasa and the mix up going on at hospital, scrubs is a term in the medical that there could be a big scandal that the scrubs that the doctors wear is missing and never find its way to the hospital, like MRI machines and these things. But let me just leave that alone. Moving on to the next. But because of that, the advancements in technology is something that we are struggling with. I met with the region 2, the region of care of the Ministry of Education here in Portland Eastern, and a very competent staff. The staff complement is excellent at region 2. And in the discussions, we were talking about the improvement of the schools that are situated in the region generally, but my primary concern is Portland Eastern. And the technological gap is all across Jamaica, but also learning in 2026 and beyond, and competing with nations where their classes are also online and their classrooms are interactive. And I'm not just talking about smart boards, but lesson plans and everything needed is on their fingertips in the classroom. And they are marching along to find out how they will relocate in Mars at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, while we are still talking about where we're going to get our exercise book and who is going to be the new maths teacher. And in relation to education, all the English are going to go, and the social studies and civics just a return, and these things. You get what I say? Yeah. And whether or not we are competitive in the world. So we've gone from a place where the not so bright child in Jamaica finds himself in America and strives as an intellect. I still think that's the case today, except that there is a struggle in relation to math, English, mental ability, everything that once upon a time common entrance used to cover. PEP is a very difficult assessment that requires assistance from parents who themselves need to return to the classroom sometimes, and whether the deficiencies come from the duties and responsibilities at home. But the primary thing is that if we're speaking about the best interest of the child, and the power of what education does for the future of this country, we need to spend some more money in that ministry. We need to equip schools with something as simple as fencing to protect the children. When children get on a school compound, not even a stranger supposed to get access to your children. Teachers don't need to be security guards. Teachers are responsible for intervention in the classroom. Today I saw a judgment. Justice Wint Blair said that the school was responsible and the teacher had neglected to part a fight when a student at Haile Selassie was punched by another student, and she was awarded millions of dollars. So you see, justice is marching in the right direction, and children are protected by elders, and we treat children as children. But parents, teachers it cannot be put on teachers to be worried about security, general security, i.e. when security is intact and schools are properly fenced, and strangers get permission to go to have to go to the principal's office or the security detail before they come, and they must have a business and an interest to interact with children. We're protecting the future of the country. And so the physical spaces need a type of improvement that is conducive to learning. So Melissa has only come to Jamaica to bring disaster, but also a cleansing, so that there can be opportunity for a rethinking and a restructuring of the most important aspects of the future of Jamaica, and that is to educate the next generation. And during that education, something needs to be put in place so that persons will pass the baton when they see fit for the betterment, the greater good, the benefit of the greater good. And this is not a new concept. Happy Feet is a movie, I think is either Disney or Pixar, where the elders thought that dancing was a crime. And if Happy Feet wasn't dancing, the humans would not have seen him, and they would not have been rescued when they were suffering from food insecurity. So you see, whether it is art that imitates life or life imitates art, we must treat with the human aspect. We must treat with modernizing humanity to understand AI technology, or the rest of the world will be marching with advancements of AI while we struggle. We are sitting there struggling with the still being a developing country and being left out in the cold. And I'm not talking about creating. I'm talking about access to learning the modern changes. And don't get me wrong, the children are understanding it and doing it themselves. It is the curriculum, it is the structure that needs to be put in place. Yes. And so I was proud, because last year, while I was a candidate in Portland Eastern, by the close of the year, 3,750 tablets plus given away, and learning that in Portland the student complement is about 7,800, means that the deficit is almost complete in terms of ensuring that the children were equipped with tablets, and moving on to another phase, which is to ensure that internet connectivity is across the parish. Thereafter, public education in how to using the devices, caring for it, because sometimes when you don't pay for things, you don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate the value of it. But it is that, and in all of this, we must still remember traditional education. So it must be reading, but there must be comprehension. And a part of comprehension is the critical thinking component. This is why I will always, no matter what it is I'm doing, must ensure that I share this space, this platform, through Context Matters, to have the conversations about the importance of critical thinking. Very, very, very important and significant. There will be some people that don't find this to be entertaining, but I will tell you this, at the end of it all, if we don't train our citizens to think for themselves, we're going to be in great danger. Very great danger. We're in a space where you put out information and then persons throw red herrings and smoking guns at it, and then ad hominem, attacking persons and dealing with the subject to take you away from the object, and blur the lines, and then people say, oh, I don't know, and I can't bother. And I can't bother is the new normal. Somebody said pure zombified minds in Jamaica. I will reject that bowl of backup channel to say that is far from the truth. In fact, persons might be suppressed and might just go with the status quo, but they're not zombified. which is why when you look at the voting population, as in the turnout of voting, is people saying that I'm not going to participate in the sideshow and the clown behavior. They are probably critical thinkers, but the part that they miss is the importance of participation. A lot of times people don't want to participate in nonsense, but the nonsense is simply a screen or a smoking gun to distract you from the real issues. So I'm going to speak now about something in the social space that I want to put some context to. And it also deals with how we deal with character and how we generalize issues and not understanding. Or I have appreciated that the legal mind or the legally trained mind is one that is different. It is one that is forensic. It doesn't mean that it is one that is better than persons with common sense. What is important is ensuring that people have common sense. One of the key advantages of going through a tertiary institution, doesn't matter what you study, is going through the rigorous training, the commitment for an additional 3 to 4 years to get an undergraduate degree, going through the foundation courses and the specialized courses and learning to think and being critically assessed at every juncture, twice per year, semester after semester, for 3 years or 4 years, and coming out with not just a passing degree, but shout out to those who get the first class honors, but shout out to those who also get degree in hand. You have come a far way and learn how to navigate, so your brain is on functioning. And it's that functionality that I am now speaking about in terms of not getting carried away, understanding actual knowledge, understanding actual rather than implied and inferred. And people draw inferences and people suggest when it is not so, and it's a matter of interpretation. But the English language oftentimes is something that cannot be excluded. And many persons leave academic institutions with poor quality ability to navigate the English language, and then find themselves on social media misinterpreting, not being able to even navigate gibberish. People spend more time to tell people that they can't spell because autocorrect cause them to type nonsense, rather than dealing with the issues and trying to interpret and trying to ensure that this is what the person is saying. And when you don't get what they're saying, you don't say, can you give me some clarity? Let's not even get into saying point of order. We're not going to do that, because even that evolves out of context depending on who is the person. But yes, being forensic. So let's talk about this issue. And this is when I say disclaimer, because nothing I say here is taking a position, and nothing I'm saying here is speaking in the specific, but in the general. No. Old people, when you see them and then you see a long time, if you go a country, then say, boy, you get fatty. Or when they say you're maga down, depending on who see you. These are conversation pieces, because you go on the scale and you know your weight, and maybe you get fat, or maybe me just a deflect right now because they say me fat. But fat is also relative. I on TikTok, so I sometimes have to be careful how I call Rosalie name. But Rosalie, you're fat. Yeah. So maybe the new word is to say Rosalie. Rosalie can't come for me, but anyway, just hear what I'm saying. Or they say that you're skinny. You have to put that in context, because the words in the English language, fat is not necessarily a synonym of obese. Skinny is not necessarily slender. And it's not necessarily slim. And it's not necessarily mager. And if it's enduring, maga man love fat woman, and it doesn't mean that somebody is malnourished or suffering from bad nutrition, because scientifically and forensically, you can be fat and malnourished. And you can be skinny and have the best of and be fat. And then we have conversations about diabetes, hypertension, and I'm raising those because those are the #1 killers in Jamaica, not the crime rate that people talk about, because the biggest murderer that this government is not taking on is stroke and heart attack, high blood pressure, hypertension, and diabetes, then cancer. Then let us have a conversation about giving license and license to murder and commit suicide. Road fatalities I'm talking about, right? So now that you appreciate this, I'm raising this to say that context matters. Best time to say that context matters, because a short snippet, any snippet from this program can get a 9-day wonder growing. Just go back to the scrub, me singing the scrub. If you cut that out, people won't know what we're talking about and say, me just get up and say me no want a scrub, and all the things that come with it. But hear me out now. Time is important. Status is important. Relationship is important. Interest to serve is of utmost importance. How much value and how much weight do you put when people speak about matters when it suits them best? Well, let's talk about this. I never want to be in a society where when I say to somebody like Martin Luther King, I had a dream that one day black boys will be able to drink water with white girls and nobody will break their back and they won't say I can't breathe. They won't step in their neck. I had a dream that one day a Negro will be able to go into the White House. And that was Martin Luther King's dream. So Martin Luther had a dream and it came alive in 2008. Yeah, I think so, when Barack Obama became the first black president. Not the first, but first black. Let's leave it at that. Somebody said, where that's ago. But hear me out. That dream came true. So what we do know is if that dream never come true, it would still be a dream. And for dreams to come true, it might not be that you are the, it might not be your dream. And it might not realize in your lifetime. Yes, Marcus Garvey, who was a pioneer for dreamers like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela. I can go on and on. But one of the reasons why he's a national hero is that he was also a dreamer. Never made it to Gordon House. Maybe we should have a whole historical revision as to what was the political dynamics, why such a powerful black man never made it to Gordon House, and how many others were deprived of that and for what reason. But let's just leave that there. Now, let me go into the sensitive part of it. And don't come for me. Again, context matters. It means that if Martin Luther King can have a dream and he was allowed to go in Washington, D.C. at the monument and speak about that dream, when somebody come to you and say, I have a dream, and you say to me, tell me about it, or don't tell me about it, or text say, I have a dream, where the other stuff come in if it is a dream? What do we do? Wake up out of the dream and attach morality to that dream? Are we going down and descending into an arena where we say dreams are inappropriate to have, and the fact that you have a dream, whatever the dream is, should never be spoken? between adults? And what of privacy? And what of consent to tell you the dream? And when is consent about speaking about a dream vitiated? And when is it okay to say that the dream was spoken of and the ramifications of the dream? And Elaine Turner 8595 says wet dream, woo. But although Martin Luther King did not say I had a wet dream, if someone has a wet dream and is given consent and encouraged to speak on that dream, where is the harm in such a interaction? And what do we attribute to it without proper context? How does a dream enter the public conversation, and where does the moral disposition of a society plagued with inappropriate dancehall and inappropriate carnival music, which makes money for the creators and authors, and certainly they won't have to pay if spoken of large amounts of money for their creation, but in fact make the money? And when is it? Walking in Divine Purpose says, what is a wet dream? Asking for a friend. Well, if you're a 3-year-old and you have a wet dream and your parents didn't put Pampers on you, you wet the bed. If you're an adult, that is probably a question that Dr. Dawes should be answering and not me. I'm just a lawyer. Of course, I don't know how to answer those things without being called to the GLC. Now, but when you put such a thing in context and is being invited to make comments, or the court of public opinion oftentimes not given the salient facts to make a proper determination, it becomes sensationalism and a 9-day wonder that will certainly cause persons with an interest to put their positions, and then press releases which hold zero weight, if any, kind of akin to press releases that attack the person and not the issues at hand, will come to the forefront and take moral stances and say that things should be investigated, and then when the 9-day pass, we are back to normal. Especially, I only have one context to put. If you had a dream in 1984 while you were in high school and you pass the message, do you want a date? Yes or no? Can we kiss later? Yes or no? And then in 2026, you find yourself as a member of parliament or a senator. And then somebody say, in 1984 in class, them send me a message about should I kiss, and that they had a dream about me. And if his Walking Divine Purpose wants to know, and the dream happened to be wet. And was wet because he was drunk or not drunk or whatever it was. The circumstances are so different when persons are expecting you to retroactively assess situations where the power dynamics were not the same, i.e., messages sent before you're a member of parliament, prime minister, or whatever, is so different from a messages sent while you are a prime minister. And so the good thing about law is it suggests that good character is as of now. That is the law. That is the current state of the law. There is no moral disposition or moral dispensation that can change what the assessment of the law is, coming from the Judicial Privy Council, the highest court of the land. It tells you what good character is. So persons' past act or conduct does not form part of good character as assessed in the now, as of today. And that is important to note because there is an issue live in the space, in the public space right now, where it is government officials, and I won't call their name because I'm not going to make this passa, but it has come across my eye, and I'm inviting the contextualizers, the students of context matters, to make the assessment, and having made the assessment says, is this something that ought to be in the public space? Where is privacy diminished between consenting adults, and when is it appropriate for persons to weaponize idle conversations between consenting adults, if at all, especially prefaced by a dream, turning what is a dream, which one has no control over, and the only control you have is to keep the dream to yourself. And when does those things in terms of the dynamics between male and female, misogynistic behavior versus feminism versus sexual harassment versus power dynamics, where does the buck stop where all of this is concerned? I make no form of judgment but to say that when one is assessing these matters, there are critical elements that must be put to the front, i.e., form of convenience, interest to serve, ad hominem attack, reality versus fantasy and dream. Somebody said release the sexual registry report, as well as understanding assassinating character in the wrong forum and abusing persons who, it is a form of abuse to persons who are victims of sexual harassment, sexual assault, crimes of a sexual nature against them. The power dynamics of boss versus person in authority, and whether persons can accept the conduct of the person in authority, or at the time the interaction was made, was the person a person in authority, right? And then somebody said, good for Uno, some of the man them too bright. Well, say bright, is that bright like a light bulb, too intelligent, or is the person saying feisty, out of order, rank, eggs up? All of these things are something, but it is better one to keep the dream to themselves. But what I would have heard all the time is that when you have a dream and you keep it to yourself, it's because you want it to come true. So if my forefathers are correct, if I have a dream and I don't want it to come true, the first thing me do is get up in the morning and say, you know, say me dream about you last night. And Jesus will tell you, say the way how me run up and down in the dream, because me never wanted that me wake up same said time. And then the response is, tell me what go on. I'm going to say, let me tell you something. The only thing me need to tell you, me nay want it to happen. But anyway, if it even don't go like that, what I understand from Jamaican culture, somebody said, so Anne-Marie, which I know is not Anne-Marie Vaz, says, Mr. Isaac, what are you doing for you so that you can start doing something more for East Portland? To answer that question, more is relative. And you'd have to come to the constituency office and state what it is that you want done to see if it can be done. That's the best answer I can give. But I did see that, and I will just respond. But again, to say that in that context, that no matter what it is, I'm urging the people of Jamaica to critically assess information that is not navigated or influenced by social commentary that puts sometimes actual facts and blur the lines by putting context that is not there. Sometimes the literal interpretation of words, especially when it is documented, if you read it for yourself without the influence of others, the interpretation will be that much different. It doesn't require interpretation. It don't require inference. Yes? It don't require somebody to say, but you have backdoored or sidelined or attempted to circumvent or tried to suggest, because that is somebody's understanding, and the person who is understanding it may very well be somebody who lacks the capacity to reach to where you need to be to interpret just basic English language. And although it appears that Patois is our first language and English the second, we are an English-speaking country in the English-speaking Caribbean. So it is important that we do not use colloquial conveniently. We do not use modern interpretation, or we don't go to archaic old English interpretation to make somebody out to be a villain or to justify bad behavior. And again, there is public and there is private, and sometimes what happens privately between consenting adults has a bad taste in the mouth of people when it comes to the public, and we don't know the true history behind relationships. And I can tell you, there's nothing like the venom of a woman scorned, or the venom of a man who cries that the grape is sour because he's a fox and can't get the grape. So one has to always make that assessment. So I am not even an umpire in this discussion, and I've called no names. Who the cap fit? Going into Reggae Month, Bob Marley said, make them wear it. So I just wanted to share that with you, to say that in the space of social media where AI is dominant, it is always important to remain humble, respond as best as you can to the 9-day wonders if you find yourself in there. And my advice to participants in the social media world is that this too shall pass. The most important thing is to center yourself and anchor your expectations on God, because if you're anchored anywhere else, you're likely to be disappointed. You may be the favorite today and find yourself as the villain tomorrow. What we can do. And Portland Spice says, how can you vex with a man for dreaming? You know, the thing about it is, if you tell a girl, say, boy, Rihanna nice and she for be my wife, and them say, when I go say, keep on dreaming, cause Rihanna don't want you. Yeah? And then people right now, me say people in nice relationships and some don't have none. And the same people say that the relationship they're not real, and then all kind of fantasies come up about why the relationship is not real and why people should keep dreaming. And so in the world where people find things hard to believe, I will never get up after somebody says it is dreaming, and you turn any of my dreams into reality. And I will send you to my cousin Buchanan down at Bellevue to give you an interview so you can check yourself in. So my position on the conversation or on this topic is, after Martin Luther famous I had a dream, or is it me just dream about you, or last night I was dreaming, it stays in the world of cartoons where Disney reigns supreme. And so unless you are Sleeping Beauty and you was dreaming too, miss me with that nonsense. And that's the position I take in telling persons while putting things into context, that we must separate fairy tale from reality. And we cannot create situations that don't exist so that we can villainize and begin to turn things that's much ado about nothing into something. And we must also shy away from this thing about clogging the court because people are assassinating your character. Again, no man or woman on the face of this earth can destroy your character or the remnants of who you are if you anchor your expectations on God. I am authority for telling you that. Let people enjoy their freedom of expression and their live in the low spaces that they live in because of how their mind operates. So a man thinketh, so is he. So you cannot allow people to project the failings of what takes place inside their head and in their heart upon you. The same thing, you know. When God bless you and you're nice and handsome like me, and you have the pepper green gray hairs on your face, and they say, "Oh my God, I said it's so nice." You think that shot, you think you won't get bun? You start coming out, you probably can open a store where you still will get bun. Likewise, we are not perfect beings, and so we can only be responsible for our actions. So how people think of you and how whatever their projections, thoughts, ideas, and concerns about you is just AI. Because you must be dreaming. You must be interfacing with the AI version, because the best and most expensive attribute of yourself is you and how you conduct yourself. Never let society project things on you. So when you walk into Portland and them look on you and they say, "You get fat, man," and then you go to Kingston, them say, "Lord, you the Portland so long your maga down. It's walk one. Life a treat you bad. How you get so much gray hair from your run down in a Portland, your hair gray up. You're stressed out, man." No, I'm 47. Of course I'm gonna have gray hair. I undertake one of the longest appeals in the history of Jamaica. You think me hair never did I go gray? Huh. If you see my face, you should see. Full stop. Anyway, that is just the base. So Jewel Vaz says, "Isa, how can I dream of you?" So let me tell you how you can dream of me. Get yourself 2 bottles of pure water. Go on down to one of those fast food restaurants, because it can't be cooking. So you have to get KFC, or you have to go to Burger King or Island Grill. Island Grill is what the jurors get. Having gotten that, you eat after 8 o'clock. And when you're full, itis will take you. And when you go to bed, make sure you turn on one of Context Matters and you listen to my voice. I promise you, you're going to dream about me and it's going to be nice. Look, it's loving. It's not loving there. Where the man did name him of a song say, "We nice." Jano say we nice. All of the Jamaican girls them, you know, say we nice. You don't know that song? I can't remember his name. I hope he's alive, because we keep on losing all of the legends in this industry. But yeah. So let's go. And when you have a dream, text me and you can say you dream about me. Once upon a time, when people used to dream about me, I used to say, "What did you dream about?" But after what I saw took place this week and it made headlines on some of the stations, and people all get stroke to how the headline them nice, mild stroke and thing I give it, I just say this: if you dream about me, keep dreaming, baby. Dreams do come true. All right. So, boy, not laugh. Why are they laughing so much? I'm being so serious right now. They laugh. You think this is a joke? Yalao, Bounty Killer. Yeah, big up Spice. Spice said without Bounty Killer, there would be no dance hall. There'd still be dancing though. Anyway, let me stop. So yeah, so cooking with Cooking says, I'm reading these comments because they're hilarious. Cooking says, my dream CEO, my dream a few well, and this is not a joke. So Cooking says there are people who dream about me. Tell me what your dream is. I promise I won't publish it on Nationwide. Text me and tell me. Petro said, I dream say me come to Portland and meet you. Looking forward to it. I can make that dream come through, okay? Text me. Everybody is laughing about the dreaming. But yeah, so so for the most part, I must say that this is the fulcrum of the conversation that I wanted to have today. And I thank everybody for listening. I thank you for just participating. And if you managed to spend the entire 2 hours with me today, thank you so much for that. Also, the freedom to express oneself is something that I'm always passionate about. When you navigate, especially in Jamaica, remember, we are guided by the Constitution. Human rights is important to realize in yourself, because we are not all on equal footing financially. So people who have more money than you will think that they can disrespect you. People who have more money than you will try to say that you can't dream about them. Yeah? That's why most time me no bother dream about nobody in Jamaica. I just draw and dream about Beyonce, cause Jay-Z can't do me nothing. But Beyonce up in her age now, so you have to start dream about Tyler. And then can't do me nothing. But I love her, but I not put her in a no Chanel. You feel me? So I just keep my dream to myself. But anyway, I just want you to have an understanding of where we're going with that, what the changing in legislation and is causing, and whether it is advancing and meeting the mischief it's trying to correct, or the object and purpose it was intended to serve when these amendments are placed, or a whole new legislation, the communities, the Gated Community Act or legislation is coming to the forefront, piloted and engineered by the Robert Montague over by St. Mary. And it is something that will affect, again, the lives of Jamaicans and property owners. And with that legislation, coupled with the amendments to the Cybercrime Act and premises, and the navigation that the JCF will need to make to ensure that 28 extrajudicial killings in 28 days and or 25 in 28, or probably all 31 versus 29, and the rate, one a day, like vitamins, Centrum, multivitamins, one a day keeps the murder rate down and away. Whatever that they're trying to achieve, forgetting that it is human life, is another conversation that we're going to always have to have. But I just want to say, especially to congratulations to the graduates at Case University. I had the pleasure of attending the graduation today, and is a word that I hope nobody misinterprets. But every time I go to a graduation and I see the beauty in our daughters and our sons of Jamaica, the future of Jamaica is bright. Just to achieve a degree, a tertiary degree that will cause you to elevate your life and give you an opportunity to be better, an opportunity to continue and further your education in other places in the world, and be and experience different cultures, and take your rite of passage like the alchemists, go out into the world and return, and all your riches are right here in Jamaica. do something great for your country. I certainly am proud of you, and always will offer encouragement. And I will say to you in the simplest form what I said to the graduates of class of 2025 at the College of Agriculture, Science and Education case is, while I'm telling you congratulations, don't you forget to clap yourself. When life beats you, come at you, get you down, look in the mirror and clap yourself. And for those of you who graduated many moons ago and life is not being fair to you, and them a bother you for student loan and all your hopes and your dreams. As you know, this week, dreaming may very well be a crime. And they may, if somebody say, it's just dreams, you have to reconfigure your life, look them in the face and say, no, it's not dream because the dream is inappropriate. How could you dream? Dreams can be bad. Look at them and tell them that. But most importantly, just clap yourself. In the seriousness of life, be proud of yourself and be proud of your achievements, and they're yours. You may not get the applause and you may not get the fanfare from other people, but clapping yourself and self-motivation, internal locus of control, is what's going to get you through the next phase of your life. And remember, 9 days, it's just a wonder. You move on from there. And we will continue many more conversations as different things happen in the world and in life. Just keep on pushing, keep on pressing on. And remember, you keep your head up and keep your stride. The most important thing is just do what you have to do to make sure you are okay in a space where we went through a lot of trauma closing out 2025 and closing out January, which ends in 2 days. So if you're here, God knows why you're here. And you made it. And you probably never had to borrow from anybody. And you're probably borrowing from somebody. And you probably had a dream about somebody. But you're here now. So congratulations to you. And keep on pressing on. And we're going to have a very exciting reggae month, Black History Month. And with all of that, don't forget that you need to love yourself, because if you can't love yourself, how are you going to love me? All right. So see you guys next week.
It took some time to understand. Yeah. What it takes to be a man. Now it seems each day you learn something to make a better way. Growing up ain't just a phase, it's reality. And sometimes it's hard to face the world with your head screwed on. But in time you will see it comes naturally, like the hurt and the pain. It's a part of the game. It's all a part of life, to laugh and to cry. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. I heard them say life much better, you live it your own way. But if you need a helping hand, just call on me, I will be your friend. And when it gets hard to face the world with your head screwed on, just tell yourself you can. And that's when you'll understand that the hurt and the pain, it's a part of the game. It's all a part of life, to laugh and to cry. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. right, that's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. Just keep your head up, yeah. Just keep your head up, yeah. Gotta keep your head up, yeah. Cause everything's gonna be alright.
Keep your head up. Keep your head up. Keep your head up.
Cause everything's gonna be alright.
Cause everything's gonna be alright.